I hope everyone is doing well. And today we come back a bit to what is the real scope of this channel, which is looking at insider movements on the market and assessing in which sectors we want to position ourselves. I want to share with you my analysis sector by sector, looking what insiders are doing and checking whether these are good times to invest in the market or are not. Let's see the situation. I want to share with you the screen. I want to share exactly the situation. All right, we should be now seeing the screen. We are sector by sector. If you follow the channel, you know that I try to follow different parameters for every sector to understand whether insiders are buying or are not. So first of all, the first sector is aerospace. In alphabetical order, we have an 8% buy to sell. This is total number of buys divided by total number of sell. Let me make it very big for you. Let me try to make it big, because especially if you are looking by phone, it might be really difficult to see. So percentage buy to sell is 8%, which is the lowest. The number of buys in aerospace out of the total number of buys is 1%, but this is because it's a very small sector. Let me show it better. And versus the last 9 months, no one was buying aerospace stocks. Instead, the selling in the last 2 months were very high. This is in dollar value. Were 226% of the past. Which means that this is a very big number. So that's definitely a sell. Let me, guys, remove the colors and let me just highlight the ones of December. Sorry, of January and February, so that it will be more clear for you. These are our sectors. And all statistics have been gathered in other tables, but I don't want to make it too long, so I just show you the final view. Okay, then we have auto, tires, and truck. We have 17% buy to sell, which is pretty average. We have a lot of buys out of total, 3%, but 23% compared to the last month, but just because there was a very huge buy that happened in November. But generally, this is quite bullish. Then we get a 1% sell of total, which is aligned to 2%, the biggest out of the last month. And we get 273% more selling than in the last 9 months. This is definitely a sell. And they have here a final indicator that tells me if a sector is a buy or is a sell. Definitely auto tires are not a good sector to buy. Basic materials. 15% buys to sell, which is pretty average, is nothing spectacular, but a lot less buys than in the last 9 months, where we really have a lot of buying action. The selling were also insignificant, but more than the average of the last 9 months. For me, this is a no touch. I'm neutral on basic materials. Business services, 8% buy to sell. This is pretty average compared to the last month. Buys are immaterial. Buys were very low compared to the last month in terms of dollar values. Selling was less. Selling was less than the last month, which could be a positive indicator for business services. But on the other hand, there aren't a lot of buys. There aren't more buys than the last month. So I wouldn't consider this sector neither buy nor selling. Let's look at computer and technology. We have an 8% buy to sell, which is a little bit up than the last month, but pretty average. But look, the buys were 33% of the total and 323% compared to the last 9 months, which is a very good indicator. And the selling was a lot less than the last month. So finally, and we start to see good deal in the market. We start to see the big tech at reasonable valuation, like Google, like Microsoft. So you see, guys, how this tool is powerful. Finally, we have a good opportunity to buy big tech, which is confirmed by the insider action. Let's go, guys, to see what insiders have been buying. I'm really curious about that. Let me see the total number of buys. For insiders, I want to see computer and technologies. Fine, still 18 buys and 220 to sell. I want to see what are these companies. Let's see the companies that were bought. Adobe, Oracle, the most famous one, Adobe and Oracle. IBM was also bought by some insider, but very big value on Oracle. Wow, very big buys on Oracle. That's interesting. 700 million. Yeah, the big buy was indeed Oracle. So guys, this is the first time that we have consistent buys in computer and technology, which might be also indicating that the Nasdaq could be due for a bottom at this stage, because probably in the very last days the buys were even more. That's very interesting. All right. What else? Conglomerate. This is a very small sector. There are very few stocks, but there were generally a lot of buys. And the sells weren't a lot, which means that probably we will be looking for opportunities in conglomerates. Construction, 18% buy to sell. In spite, these companies have dropped a lot. Well, no, not in spite, because in reality they've dropped a lot, but that's the highest ratio buy to sell since quite a long time. And the buys were more than the last month, and the sell were less than the last month. So we want to look also in construction. Is finally a buy. You see, guys, how this is important. This is a sector that was very, very expensive, but it might have come time for a bottom. If the recession didn't come, we start to see consistent buys from insiders. This is quite bullish. This is quite good. Consumer discretionary. Also, volumes are up from the last month. Also, selling is up. So, but the buys are more up than the sell. And also the percentage buy to sell is higher than it used to be. I would say is also quite a buy, consumer discretionary, and it came from another good month. So this is good for us. Consumer staple, wow, consumer staple, massive buys. You can see higher percentage buy to sell we have read versus last 9 months, a lot of volume more, 754%. The selling are 112%, so still quite high, but a lot of buys also in consumer staples. So in reality, this seems a buying opportunity. What about finance? Finance, pretty average buy to sell compared to the past. Versus last 9 months, we are buying less, and we are selling also less. So finance I wouldn't touch, neither buy nor selling. Industrial products, pretty high number of buys to sell compared to the past. Average, like buying, selling percentage of total is pretty high. A lot of, like, not a lot of sells. So this is also quite bullish, but not so much. I don't like this selling as a 6% of the total. So it's rather a no touch. What about medical? Medical, a lot of buys to sell. This is a sector anyway which went up a lot in the first 2 months. Buys as a percentage of total 16%. More buys than selling in the last month, but also more selling than the average, 128%. A lot of selling towards the total. For me, is a no touch. Oil is a sector where, in spite it's going down and down and down, we continue to see a lot of buying activity from insider. In reality, yeah, like this is interesting because under the Trump administration, there was a lot of buy at the end of the Biden administration. Now with Trump, the volume of buys went down and the volume of sell went down as well. So at this stage, I wouldn't touch oil. Retail, wholesale, 8% buy to sell, this is low. 20% buy, this is very low compared to the last months, and 19% sell, which is a sector which is a little bit indifferent. Transportation, 15% buys to sell. We are buying a lot less than the last month, and we are selling more. Like we are on average with the last month, but no one is buying basically. So I would say that this is quite bearish for transportation. I wouldn't enter into here. Utilities, yeah, utilities, that was one of our bubbles in the last month, one of the bigger ones. Insiders aren't losing occasion to sell, like 60% more than the average, and they are buying 60% less than the average. So utilities is still a sell for me. I wouldn't buy stocks in utilities. All right, guys. So let's make a recap of our sectors that are a buy in February, looking at what insiders are doing. Finally, computer and technology. There starts to be opportunities, conglomerates, construction, the home builders start to be appealing for insiders, consumer discretionary, and consumer staples appear a buy. Sectors where you want to stay out, as insiders are rather selling than buying. Aerospace, everything that is transportation, so auto, tires, truck. Not sure if insiders are scared for the Trump tariffs. Transportation. Utilities. Utilities is also another sector where you really want to stay away. So I will be looking in these sectors to buy, which is the case. All are starting by C. So buy stocks in sectors that are starting by C. And let's see where this market will go. If you will like the video, guys, click the like button, help sustaining the channel. And I wish you great investing.